We're going to focus on some really critical pieces to export, which are about logistics, and then the second segment today, we're going to have Matthew Berrigan here from Invest Nova Scotia, who's going to share some of the different ways that Invest Nova Scotia supports businesses who are working on this or interested in working on this. So. Welcome, and as always, we certainly encourage you to ask questions and if you have anything you want to put into the chat, you're welcome to do that. Yulia and I will keep an eye on that and make sure that any of our presenters know of any questions you put in there as well. So it's important to take advantage of the opportunity while you can. So this morning we're going to start with the road, and then we're going to move to rail, and then we're going to move to some sort of compounded opportunities for logistics. So. We're going to start this morning with Chris McKee. Chris is the Executive Director of the Atlantic Provinces Trucking Association. Chris joins the association in 2022 after spending 12 years at North American information services firm LAC Group, most recently as Director of Moncton Operations. However, Chris is no stranger to the trucking industry nor the APTA, having spent 6 years working with the association in the communications and member services role between 1999 and 2005. Chris also counts a successful broadcast journalism career among his accomplishments, having spent a decade working as a news reporter, announcer, and news editor in the Moncton market. So, Chris, we'll turn it over to you, and good morning. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Peter, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. I really appreciate it. I really just wanted to touch this morning on what transportation solutions are available by road to shippers, namely shippers in Nova Scotia who are exporting their foodstuffs or food products to market. So I really just wanted to give you a quick overview of what's available to you, finding the best solution, and really finding that key carrier partner to work with you to export your goods and get them to market. So I'd like to just maybe start by telling you just a little bit about the Atlantic Provinces Trucking Association. We are a nonprofit organization dedicated to representing the interests of the industry. We serve as the unified voice of the trucking industry in the four Atlantic provinces. So a lot of advocacy with the Newfoundland, PEI, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia governments. Like I said, we advocate for our members. We're striving constantly to create an environment conducive to growth and success of our industry, but also the safety of our industry and the safety of our roadways. Important to note, we're not government funded, so we are an advocacy group. We're funded through membership dues and events such as the biannual Atlantic Truck Show that we host in Moncton, and other events and training programs that we offer. We currently represent about 350 members. Those are made up of small, medium, and some of the largest size carrier companies in the country. We also have a contingent of our membership who are vendors to the industry. So I think it's probably pretty safe to say the majority of transport trucks you see moving on our region's highways would be members of our association. And of course, those representative of those fleets are sit on our board of directors, which basically direct our advocacy, safety efforts, and other activities. So that's in a nutshell who we are. The trucking industry in Atlantic Canada is vital to our economy. We employ directly over 25,000 people in the sector, with an estimate of another 30,000 people employed indirectly through trucking businesses. The sector generates more than $4 billion a year in annual revenue for Atlantic Canada, and 64% of our sector's operating revenue in this region is related to interprovincial or international shipments. So basically exports, as you will. So 64% of our members' business is going primarily south of the border. So, getting Nova Scotia's premium goods to market does present several logistical challenges. Now, for food shippers, you face challenges in balancing cost effectiveness with service quality. And quality is very important when selecting a carrier partner to move your to export your goods, because shipping food, especially perishable and temperature sensitive products, require careful management to ensure the food safety and freshness are maintained while also minimizing costs. So, take, for instance, temperature control and perishability, right? Many food products require strict controls, steady, strict controls, refrigerated or frozen. Maintaining the appropriate temperature during transit often requires investment or investing in a shipping partner that has refrigerated trucks, also known as reefers. You're going to probably hear me say this a couple of times today. Invest in a partner with temperature monitoring equipment. And also, in many cases, you as shippers need to invest in specialized packaging. There's also delivery speed versus cost considerations. So many food products, as you know, have a short shelf life, which demands fast delivery to minimize spoilage and ensure freshness. However, that faster delivery often comes with higher shipping costs because you are requiring an expedited shipping service. So again, it's looking to balance that delivery speed versus cost. And then, of course, you will also have the risk of spoilage and product loss altogether. So, spoilage and loss can occur due to improper handling by a carrier, delays, accidents. These can all lead to significant financial losses for shippers. You're also faced with potential recalls if products are not meeting the stringent safety standard required during transportation. So, it really is a balancing act. So, while minimizing costs is essential, it is crucial to invest in carrier companies with the proper technologies and processes in place. Again, real-time temperature monitoring, GPS tracking, and of course, the proper insurance coverage that helps to, minimize the cost incurred to the shipper if there is spoilage or delays or what have you. So finding the best solution for your product. So in trucking, ambient, refrigerated, and frozen transport solutions serve different types of goods based on their temperature requirements. There are three main temperature types when it comes to road transportation. So we have ambient transport. This refers to standard temperature controlled transport for items that don't need heating or cooling, but must stay within a stable temperature range. So think dry goods, electronics, textiles, and non-perishable foods. Then we have refrigerated transport, also known as reefers. And this transport method keeps goods chilled, typically between 0 and 5 degrees Celsius. Um, Often used for perishable items like dairy, fruits, vegetables, and certain pharmaceuticals. And then, of course, we have frozen transport. This solution keeps products at sub-zero temperatures, usually below minus 18 degrees Celsius, to preserve foods such as ice cream, frozen meats, certain vaccines, frozen seafood, and so on. So this type of transport requires specialized equipment to ensure consistent freezing temperatures throughout the journey. And I will say that, a number of our members now have invested in what we would call dual zone reefers that can keep half the trailer at that refrigerated temperature while keeping the backside or the back end of the trailer at that frozen temperature. So it's often offering that flexibility to shippers who may have a product that requires both temperature environments. Folks, just jumping ahead here a little bit. So finding the right solution for your product. So, in trucking, sorry, folks, I'm just trying to get find my way back to my slides here. Um, so finding the best solution for your product. So to assess food products temperature and handling, requirements, shippers need to follow several steps to ensure proper food safety. So identify the product sensitivity. Different foods, of course, have different unique temperature sensitivities. For example, perishable items like seafood, dairy, and meat require those strict controls to avoid spoilage, with shelf-stable items mainly only needing ambient temperature control. So first and foremost, you need to know the specific temperature range required for each type of food or item that you may be exporting. Reviewing regulatory guidelines. Many countries have regulations for transporting perishable food. For instance, the FDA in the US, their Food Safety Modernization Act outlines specific standards for food transport into the US, including temperature control requirements. Compliance with these regulations ensures product safety and quality. It's very important that shippers be, aware of what these regulations are, what their responsibilities are. But a good carrier partner can also help you navigate these waters. setting temperature ranges for transit. So once you've figured out what the ideal temperature range is, shippers, you must, as shippers, you must communicate this to the carriers to ensure this range is set on all of their transportation equipment. Um, and then again, use temperature monitoring devices or use partners with temperature monitoring devices. So this maintains and tracks temperatures. Carrier companies should equip their vehicles with temperature monitor and logging devices, which will in fact alert the driver or even head office if the temperature deviates from the set range, allowing for immediate actions. I know, just as an aside, I traveled across Newfoundland last year with a gentleman hauling a load of refrigerated groceries to several places across the island, and there was an issue with his reefer that driver received an alarm and a light in his cab within 30 seconds of the temperature dropping below the set minimum, and was able to troubleshoot that, correct the issue with the equipment within a matter of 5 minutes. This, absolutely saved the load from spoiling. Had they not had that system in place, it could have been another 2, 3 hours down the road before he stopped next to check on things to notice that the temperature in that trailer was not where it should be. So again, I'll reiterate, make sure that you're partnering with carriers who have this technology in place. It's to protect you and to protect them, and some expensive insurance claims. And finally, I think, establishing loading and unloading protocols. So the handling of food during loading, unloading also affects its safety, believe it or not. We often just kind of think of loading the truck and away you go, but there are a lot of protocols in place to help preserve the longevity and the shelf life of food during transit and shipping. So, for example, keeping doors closed as much as possible to prevent temperature fluctuations when a trailer is in dock, proper training and procedure for handlers to minimize the risk of temperature exposure and potential contamination. So again, training of their people, making sure that their warehouse staff as well as their drivers are trained in food safety protocols and proper handling techniques. One thing we always have to plan for as shippers and as carriers, and a good carrier company will also help you with this, is to essentially prepare for the unexpected. We live in the Maritimes. There are going to be delays, whether it's with the ferry services, the Confederation Bridge closes, Port of Halifax delays, weather delays, storms, border crossing delays. There are just so many bottlenecks and delays that our industry faces on a daily basis, that it's important that you work the potential for delays into your shipping plans. And again, a good carrier partner can help you navigate these waters and work with you on contingency plans. So really just I think I'm going a bit long here, folks. I apologize. So really just to kind of sum up and get to the meat of what I'm trying to say here is, how do you find the best transportation partner for your product? So first and foremost, choose a carrier that has experience with food transport. It seems like a no-brainer, but carriers that have been doing this for several years have the experience in handling food, particularly perishables, understand the nuances. They understand the nuances of temperature control, of food safety protocols, of that quick response to issues that could affect a product's quality. And, the shipper should verify the carrier's track record with similar food products to ensure they are familiar with the requirements of the type of food or the type of product that you are shipping. Refrigeration, temperature controlled equipment. So you want to make sure the carrier that you're looking to partner with to move your product to market has access to reliable refrigerated trucks. This includes well-maintained modern equipment that can keep consistent temperatures throughout transit. If you pull into a yard and you see a guy with a 50-year-old diesel reefer on a trailer, you may want to question that. We would suggest that you look for modern, consistent, well-maintained equipment, and that's easy enough for you to verify if you ask that question. Again, temperature monitoring and tracking. A carrier that offers this real-time monitoring and tracking provides an added layer of security, also allowing shippers to verify that products remain within safe temperature ranges throughout transit. So almost like tracking a shipment on the UPS website, you can potentially keep an eye on the temperature of your product while it's in transit. Make sure that carriers have the proper food safety certifications, whether they're mandatory or not. So programs such as HACCP, which I believe my colleagues may get into a little bit further here on this this meeting today. But HACCP is the Hazard and Analysis Critical Control Points program, and it trains drivers and it trains maintenance staff and so on the proper procedures for handling food, for sanitizing trailers, what cannot be cross-loaded into trailers in terms of cross-contaminating food with chemicals and so on. So there's programs like that in place that drivers and shippers and dock workers and all of the people in the supply chain for your product should be trained on. And again, contingency plans. A skilled food carrier should have contingency plans in place for delays, equipment failures, or emergencies. This can include backup refrigeration units, alternative routes, or partners with other carriers just to ensure that your time and temperature sensitive product gets to market, before the end of its shelf life during unexpected circumstances. And I think, this finally a no-brainer, but insurance, make sure the carriers you're contracting, your loads are secured in case of spoilage or because, in case, there are delays and these contingency plans cannot get your product to market on time. A reliable carrier should offer the appropriate insurance options that cover the specific risks associated with transporting food. So by focusing on these factors, shippers can choose a carrier with the expertise to transport food safely, meet regulatory standards, and preserve the quality of the shipment from origin to destination. So that wraps up my presentation today. I hope it was insightful on how to choose a carrier to help move your products to market. My name is Chris McKee. I'm my contact information should be up on the screen. I more than welcome any of you to reach out to me at any time with any additional questions or insights or anything at all. Thank you very much for listening to me today.
Thanks very much, Chris. And definitely a lot of, I think, considerations for people using the road, but certainly some good options in Atlantic Canada for people to reach a lot of markets for sure. So appreciate that. And working in food retail for most of my career, I spent a lot of time around trucks. So you have to. So a couple of questions slash comments here, and maybe I'll just go through them while you're with us. And you may not be able to answer one of them. But what is the best temperature if you load pork and dry smoked herring in a consolidated container? I don't know if you're the temperature expert or not.
I'm afraid I am not. I would love to be able to answer that, but I would be lying to you if I gave you a number. So that's certainly something I can find out from you, though. I have several members that could probably give me that answer very quickly.
Okay. And
Sorry, who was that from? I can respond directly.
yeah, it's right there in the chat. And I think that it's for people it's there's when you're talking about the right temperature, you've got to understand the regulatory environment. So that could be a CFIA question. And then also you want to understand what your customers' expectations are for on arrival, right? So if your customer is expecting a range, say, then you need to know that. So that's what you need to, and really it's up to the shipper to tell the trucking company what to set the reefer at. So and then another question about insurance. Where do I find insurance to cover food transport in Canada?
That is again, I can direct you to several of our members who can assist with that question. We have as part of our membership, we have a number of insurers in the transportation space and in the shipping space and
Mhm.
logistics space. So again, I wouldn't want to just give you one person's name. What I can do is if Yosef, I can reach out to you directly after this and provide you with a list of names and contact information that might be of assistance to you if that works.
Mhm. And I
If I
think,
may, Peter,
oh, yeah, John, I was going to
yeah,
say you've got some lots of
yeah,
experience in
two
there as
quick
well.
quickie here. The pork, I would say frozen pork -18. That's the traditional pork meat, bovine meat, poultry. It's -18. Normally the set point, which you have to, and we would have to have a Mitsubishi or whatever, cool carriers or a very strong reefer there that could maintain it until -25. So you have a secure leverage there. And insurance, there's two ways. You can actually, when you do the booking with the shipping line, you can ask them to cover them, and that will go through the PNI Club, which is through the Lloyd's in London, and they'll charge you $50, $100, depending on the value of the cargo. And that's very smart because that way the shipping lines will come back to you with the claim much quicker than through a normal PNI process. Or you go through a normal, I'm not sure if I can say names, but Marsh, for example, you go to these top insurers and you go there and make a plan, and then you can insure not just the cargo, but the factory, your work, you do the whole package.
All right. And the last question in there, Chris, is I need cold refrigerated storage and shipping. Where should I start? So, is there a directory to refer people to or anything?
We have a membership directory. Again, it really doesn't break down who offers frozen, who offers storage. However, I can certainly connect you with several companies. So, are you talking refrigerated or frozen?
Mm. It just says cold refrigerated storage.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So
Refrigerated, not
okay.
not frozen.
Okay, all right. Okay, so yeah, frozen's been a little harder to come by in terms of storage right now, but I have several member companies off the top of my head who provide the transportation and cold storage. So maybe I can follow up with a list of names and contact information.
I would really appreciate it. I
Sure.
haven't found any yet. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
All right. Well, thanks very much, Chris, and appreciate everybody sort of asking questions and making good use of Chris and John and Keegan's expertise here today. So Keegan, I'm gonna turn things over. We're gonna move from the road to the rail, if that works for you. And Keegan currently holds the position of Senior Manager, Temperature Controlled Services at CN Rail. In this position, he's responsible for overseeing CN's Cargo Cool program, an industry-leading cold supply chain solution offering refrigerated products for both domestic and international shippers. Keegan has been with CN for 13 years, and in that time has worked in different roles within sales and marketing across both of CN's intermodal and carload business units. So welcome, Keegan, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, and appreciate you offering the spot here to speak today and share a little bit about CN. I'll keep it relatively high level today, just to share kind of what we do and how we do it. Speaking more of the high level side of what the railway is and what our reach is, and then drilling down into our intermodal product, and then finalizing with kind of my baby, the cargo cool stuff that we do. So CN is one of two national railways in Canada. Let me know if you guys see the slide change there. Perfect. I think so.
Yeah. All good.
So yeah, we're one of two national railways in Canada. We have 25,000 employees. We have to manage over 22,000 miles of track. We have access to all three coasts of North America, as you can see kind of on the map there. It's a very rudimentary map, but I'll get to kind of why I use this one versus maybe something a little bit prettier later. We're headquartered in Montreal. Our local representative in Atlantic Canada is Nathan Cassidy. I can share his contact information in the chat after for anyone who has any questions beyond today. He's located in Moncton, but he covers the entire Atlantic Canada for us, so he'd be a subject matter expert for any further questions as we move forward. So for CN, at the highest level, we have a very well diversified portfolio across our carload and intermodal products. You can see here on the slide, metals and minerals, automotive, coal, forest products, grain, petroleum and chemicals more on the carload side, where it's running on dedicated rail. And then we have our intermodal product, which is the largest product within CN, and it is kind of what we're speaking to today, more your consumer goods, your asset, non-asset based carriers, as well as our own fleet that we'll speak to later. But really the reason why I put this map up is to speak to the opportunity that we have to grow within the East. On a relative basis, you can see how dark and thick that red line is out to Western Canada. That's showing how dense our product is out to Western Canada. And you can see here in the East, it's significantly thinner. This map kind of assumes that it correctly assumes that we have the exact same capacity in each corridor in terms of what we can haul, and you can see here there's great opportunity for us to add train packages and to grow that Eastern Canada footprint that we continue to do today. So getting into more of the intermodal specific elements of our business, we serve 14 ocean ports, 22 inland terminals. This map kind of shows you the breadth of that across Canada through all these different major urban centers, as well as down through the US with that kind of main pivot point in Chicago. We have some innovative products such as the cargo business that I handle. We also do some transloading and some other products, such as our membership is part of the EMP program. For those of you that are unfamiliar with that, it's basically a asset light model where between various different railroads, mostly into the US, it offers kind of asset supply to the market through the IMC community, allows them to contract a box for relatively low cost to ship into cross-border markets. We offer transload solutions at most of our port locations, moving from the 40 on dock to the 53 to bring inland. And we do all that on a dedicated train package. Our intermodal trains are separate from our carload trains. They run in priority across our network, and they deliver kind of a hub-to-hub model. So if we look specifically at Eastern Canada, we have terminals in Halifax and in Moncton. We load and depart and arrive trains in those terminals daily. And then they come into Montreal, Toronto before being any containers that needed to go further will be reworked and delivered into those further markets on a different train package. But it's a daily train. It has a lot of capacity, and it's moving all of our different asset requirements in a timely manner. It's about a 1 day, 2 day service from door to door when we think about kind of the other elements of our business that I'll get into soon. So these are, the high level kind of takeaways for what our intermodal product can provide, in addition to just moving the goods, which we kind of just went through in terms of intermodal. But we also have our own CNTL trucking division. They are primarily responsible for delivering kind of from the terminal to the shipper or to the receiver. It's kind of an extended reach of our core ramp-to-ramp package. We also have customs brokerage. So if we're going to go across the border, we have a dedicated team of reps who are experts in this space, clearing loads every day, and can provide that expertise to any shipper or receiver that we have to make sure that that product's moving seamlessly across the border. With the acquisition of TransX and H&R a couple of years ago, we acquired some distribution services through their facilities, the ability to move freight from dry and reefer cargo, doing more cross-dock LTL type work, consolidation, deconsolidation, a lot of the more hands-on type stuff. We acquired that with that acquisition, which has allowed us to continue to differentiate our product within this space, kind of in addition to that hub and spoke model that we're somewhat experts at in terms of who we are and what we do. And then lastly, logistics parks. CN is heavily invested in expanding our footprint, specifically in key markets like Toronto, Chicago, Calgary, Montreal. I think you're going to hear a lot of interesting things coming up in the East Coast as well, as we start to work with the port and try to find capacity within that supply chain, as with the expansions at the Port of Halifax, and how we kind of bring that capacity back into market, and what that opens up for really the rest of Atlantic Canada in terms of trains, facilities, things like that. For those of you that are unfamiliar with intermodal, especially with CN, we operate a container on flat car type service. So they're not trailers, they're dedicated containers that we can provide to the market. These assets on the page are generally assets that we own, that we supply. So on the domestic container type, we have dry and heated containers. The dry containers are for your standard loads, don't need any type of protective services. Our heated containers are usually used in the winter. They're more of a protect from freeze. To what Chris's comments earlier, these assets do not have the GPS tracking. They do not have the temperature monitoring that we can see remotely. But what they do is they have an onboard motor that continuously pumps out about 55 Fahrenheit or 21 Celsius temperature through the entire transit in an effort to mitigate any freezing. So it's good for that product that is probably more dry goods, but you don't necessarily want it to freeze in transit. We see that's used a lot, by the Walmarts, the Loblaws, and the grocery type guys for that non-critical perishable goods. The 40-foot international container. So what we do with that is more for probably inbound into Nova Scotia, but we actually use the containers made available to us by the steamship lines. And we repurpose those containers for our use to provide kind of high density, heavy freight solutions for product coming from Toronto, Montreal into Atlantic Canada. We also provide an insulated product similar to the heated container, protect from freeze type solution to help, again, that high density product. So primarily we're seeing a lot of the beer guys, the beverage guys, they love that because they can pack, the 18 pallets very tight, very heavy, without any block and bracing on either side. So we do quite a bit of that in Eastern Canada as well. And then lastly, and I'll get more into this later, but our 53-foot refrigerated containers, which is what I oversee and what I'm responsible for, that have the telematics, they have the remote monitoring, they have the GPS, they have all those things that are required to ensure that there's some level of intelligence going on with that asset that we're able to monitor in transit. And then we have some other touch points that we do to make sure that we're protecting the product integrity while it's in transit. Quickly too, I'll jump on the customs brokerage elements that we have here at CN. So again, we have a dedicated team that's focused on providing this service. They are crucial in the sense of our trains don't necessarily want to stop at the border. We don't want your cargo coming off of the border. There's no necessarily train start sitting there waiting for that product to come on. So this team's crucial in allowing those containers to move seamlessly across that border, and their expertise and their familiarity with CBSA or U.S. Customs team is really a differentiator for us, ensuring that product moves. So really what they help with and where their expertise really come in place is navigating that complex maze of forms, regulations, and all the different frustrations that may come with interacting with kind of government officials and bonds and all that good stuff. So they're there to simplify that process, to help avoid any potential problems and kind of classifying your goods and documenting and correcting, making sure they have the correct valuations on them. They obviously, with all of that, help to minimize any penalties or tariffs or storage fees that may or may not apply when something gets stuck at the border, with the ultimate goal of reducing delays and ensuring compliance. And they're very effective at that. And I would highly recommend anyone who does look at a cross-border intermodal product with us looks into these services because they are key to our success in making sure that we're moving that freight reliably across the border. So just moving on now to my last slide, and like I was saying, this is kind of what I'm responsible for, something more I'm comfortable with, and kind of more to the theme of today in how we move our product, refrigerated goods, across the country. So we have these 53-foot refrigerated assets, as I kind of have on the screen here. They have carrier engines on the front, 15,000 liters of fuel. They'll last 10, 12 days in transit, providing that refrigerated, but also the frozen temperatures. We provide this service from coast to coast, and then obviously with our subsidiary TransX, they have an additional fleet. So we have 1,000 units, containers, sorry. And then TransX also has another 1,000 units. So between the two of us, we have the largest North American fleet that's deployed here within Canada. We have dedicated customer service teams. Again, it's one thing to have that telematics. It's one thing to have that GPS, but you need to have someone who's looking at monitoring it. So we're well staffed in order to make sure that we're doing right by our customers. We're paying attention to these containers in transit. Unlike that truck model where you're going to have the driver who can turn around and look at it, we're very reliant on having our team sitting there monitoring these things in transit and making sure that we're creating reliable action plans to recover if anything does happen. We're not going to stop a train in the middle of the woods to take a container off. So we need to make sure that we have the redundancies in place to ensure that container, when it comes to pad in Montreal or in Toronto or in wherever it's going, that we have the action plan in place to quickly action that asset, whether it's a transload, a quick repair, maybe we have to expedite delivery. We have all that capabilities, again, with our in-house trucking company to make sure that we're doing that within the best interest of the product, but ultimately to meet the wants and needs of our customers and our shippers. So yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. I think that's kind of high level. I think Chris really explained the expertise that are needed and required to make sure that you're successful in this space. But what I've kind of shared here really speaks to how the railroad and CN specifically has made the investment, has put in the time, effort, and energy to make sure that we're trying our best to meet those needs and to create a product that really supports what the underlying market wants. Whether it's just a short haul into Atlantic Canada or if it's from Atlantic Canada all the way to the west, we're well positioned with our assets, with our space, with our people to execute on that product and meet those requirements. So that's really it for me. So I'll take any questions. I think after John speaks, Peter, we'll get into questions, but more than happy to answer anything. And again, I can share my contact information for anyone who requires it and wants to know more about intermodal. I think these presentations are good, but they can be very overwhelming when you think of the breadth of what we do. So be more than happy to have conversations as required.
Great. Thanks very much, Keegan. And yeah, I think it's important for people to kind of understand what they're looking for and then come to a company like CN and say, I need to get, I have a product that, here's the volume we're looking at and here's the locations we're looking to export into, whether it's into other Canadian markets or down into the US kind of thing and get into the specifics, right? But certainly a lot of options there. One thing I'll just ask you before we turn it over to John, and I know there's one question there, but we'll come back to them, is just is it always full loads or do you do kind of like that, in the trucking world, I would think of LTL where there's, different 4 pallets for one person and 6 for another on a truck.
Yeah, so my team, my responsibility, the CM product is a dedicated truckload product.
Okay.
But with the acquisition of TransX and H&R, that's where we gain those flexibility of having the LTL consolidation type model. They're set up with the warehouses and the logistics solutions to provide that. So in a case where someone was to approach me with an LTL opportunity, I would make the introduction to our colleagues on the other side there, and they would help facilitate a solution.
Okay, great. Thanks. All right, so we'll turn it over now to John Kirkup. And John is the freight forwarding manager from Asante Logistics Group located in Truro. And if I'm 100% honest here, I learned a lot when I was doing some research when I knew that John was going to be joining us because there's a lot of resources available from this business that I probably wasn't 100% aware of. So John, I'll turn it over to you and welcome. Good morning, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, everyone. Good morning, Pete, and thank you very much for the opportunity. And it fits in well that we started with the trucks, we went to the rails, now we're going to the ships. And actually, Asante, we do the integration of all of it. My background actually is I've worked for CN the last 12 years overseas. And then before that, I was working for the shipping lines, recently for the Japanese NYK line, living in Tokyo and London and in Brazil and Latin America, where, as everyone knows, they're very, very large exporters of reefer cargo. So basically, I'm going to cover up the who we are, and then go straight into, I think the point is to try and give you guys a little bit of a history of where the refrigeration came from, and especially in the shipping business, where that's where the chunk of technology was put into, apart from our refrigerators at home. And then going through the revolution of containerization, the global transfer technology on that, the role of the reefer and the modernization, and the compliance for the trade, and how to prepare for export inputs, and then go quickly over the 4 keys of importing and exporting takeaways, which I think is important for everyone there. So Asante, yeah, as we said, we were based in Truro. We have our assets there, 300,000 square feet warehouse in Truro. We have our 10 docks there and heated warehouse. We have our own trucks, buy trains, 53 trailers, and container chassis. So that brings into the mix. And the new thing is actually that we've just made a little food investment. So we want to be a food grade warehouse. And basically, we're going there, as Chris has already said. You have to train your staff, and so that's what we're going through. Basically, we have experienced staff moving, packing for food, but now we're going deeper on the Nova Scotia food handling certification and the HACCP management. have dedicated equipment for that, meaning docks just for that, forklifts, electric forklifts just for that. And then obviously having the comprehensive HACCP plan being made. And our overall here is to try and get the SQF, which I think it's the most important international food certification one can get. It's very well accepted worldwide, and having working with the international trade, it's a mandate to have this kind of certification. So just to give you an idea of the operational flow, this is our 300,000 square feet. The red part is our food area, small area, but we are inclined to increase it, going step by step first. And basically, we are mostly working with imports of ethnic food for the immigrants who are coming in through Atlantic and asking to bring their own foods. And that's a nice little market. It's a small LCL, very dedicated, and have food coming from all over the world, from organic food to normal dry food. So diving in then straight into the refrigeration, Mr. Jacob Perkins was the revolutionary guy who invented the vapor compression refrigeration systems, and that was quickly adapted to the ships. And I pointed out there the Australian market was one of the first ones. Maybe some people will remind that, but the Vestige Group, a very famous group with the meat poultry shops in London. Then they went out to buy the farms and then went out to invest on ships. And they, for example, launched the Blue Star Line. I don't know if you remember. Blue Star Line shipping meat from South America, from Australia, from South Africa and New Zealand into the European market, to the UK market mainly. And then after that, following that, other lines such as Cool Carriers, NYK Reefer became, these are twin decker vessels which would have 4 or 5 holds of reefers, and they would be a supermarket vessel changing boxes of meat on the bottom, frozen, to foods on the top, or whole ships taking meat to Saudi Arabia, for example, a huge market. So these ships were very successful. Also, the very famous vessels like the banana boats, you've maybe heard of them. These are the Chiquita vessels, which are just carrying banana. And I must say that on the breakbulk side, the biggest volume of reefer cargo ever loaded was bananas. And it still is. Bananas is the #1 reefer cargo moved around the world on the bulk side. And also there's some specialized vessels like Cutrales and Citrosuku vessels, which just carry frozen orange juice, which goes a lot to Florida and to Rotterdam in Europe for then making the juices we have at home to make the blends. So these are just to give you an idea of the ships, which were for a long time until the 1950s, I would say, when the big containerization of refrigeration came along. Especially with Sealands and there's actually a big discussion who actually started it. If it was Ned Lloyd in Rotterdam or if it was Sealands in the US. So I'll leave that to the historians. But Sealand was mainly focusing in the reefer trade. So they developed the container, which would go on the intermodal side, would go on trucks, would go on trains, would go on barges, would go on small feeder vessels, and that was a very, very, very significant change in the market. Soon we saw these specialized carriers just loading breakbulk, losing a lot of markets. And this came together with the 1960s, 1970s when Maersk Line came in. And Maersk Line have always been very, very focused on the reefer trade. They've always thought that, and in the reality in the market on the day to day, it is the bread and butter. It's there's a lot of margins in the reefer cargo. So having a mix of dry cargo and reefer cargo on the container vessel makes you more profitable. So that's where Maersk came in, and the actually I don't know if people know that, but part of their reefers are still built in Denmark. They have full control of the reefer equipment, so it's something they really cherish for. And that was the big loop. A lot of equipment, a lot of cargo started transiting into containers for 40-foot high cube reefers, 20-foot reefers. A lot of people ask me, what about the 20-foot reefers? Well, unfortunately, that's been phased out. It's not worth shipping 20-foot reefers anymore. It has to be a 40-foot high cube. That's the big mover in the market nowadays. So 20 foots are hard to get. They're not easy. So just bear that in mind. And with the global expansion, with the technology advancements, let's say in the 1980 to 2000, especially with the technology of temperature control. Yeah, you can have equipment going down to -18 up to +10. You had humidity control, you had air control, you had nitrogen control, hydrogen control. This is more for the fruits market where they need the cargo to start ripening during the trip. And when it arrives at the port, it's nearly ready to eat. And this was a big revolution at the time, especially Maersk selling this, and that's why we have fresh fruits now all over the world. You can get limes from Mexico, oranges from Israel, and kiwis from New Zealand, and they're there. It's that's the part of the globalization because of this fantastic equipment we have. And now today, with the reefer cargo today is another ball game. It's got its smart reefer. I've been discussed a little bit with the electronics there, but I think integrating the smart reefer with IoT and with your RFIDs, you don't need people to log in and check things, and everything is transmitted live. So a lot of the shipping lines have like Zim have this Zim monitor system, which is fantastic. Hapag-Lloyd also. Maersk were the first ones, but there's a lot of shipping lines adding value to the reefer service and giving visibility of where things are. I think so. That's the change. The change. You have the supermarket or the warehouse on the sea for you. So and that goes very very well with what the tendency is, which people want fresh foods more and more. So we will see the reefer cargo increasing year by year, more and more fresh food. People don't want industrialized, unhealthy foods anymore. People want this kind of food for their futures. Man. So, and just to quickly go over there, we've discussed this already, but the perishable foods, pharmaceuticals, and the chemicals are main products being moved there to the in containers. Okay, being I would say that the perishable foods, the biggest markets and the most valuable markets. The meat and the poultry are the big movers, and then you have the fresh foods, which are increasing by day. Yeah, the pharmaceuticals very very small, very dedicated, very tough market. And the chemicals also, sometimes you need temperature controlled for the chemicals not to explode or to get warm. Man. And going to the compliance, and so how do you go into the trade? Man? And these are serious things that one has to think, especially on the fresh food, on the reefer cargo. This is just a Canadian perspective that you have to go through the governments, required declarations and CFIA. For example, and some certain programs even ask for a second, third document. So it's very important you know the rules of your country. And Canada is very modern, very easy to export, to use the documentation, to issue documents, so long you do your process, your compliance. It's not one of the hardest countries to export food. And Canadian food outside is very well received. So I think it's a great opportunity for Canadian exporters to think out of the box. We sell too much to the U.S. and we should sell more to the other markets. And this is where Invest Nova Scotia can come and help you go outside and promote these products. And then the key 4 steps then, so which I like to conclude to export, which is my takeaway for everyone here, is always do a market research. Now, analyze the market size, growth potential, and then identify the target customer segments which you want to go in. The competitive analysis is always very important. The rate part is where we can help you, and it's you have to ask. You have to have the access to these international competitors and numbers and fill in the gap there. And the regulatory environment, which I said, research, trade regulations, tariffs, and the local law, and understand the import and export requirements for compliance there. The second point there, evaluating market entry and direct exporting. Try to export direct, studying directly to customers, or indirect exporting using intermediaries. But remember, then they'll get their share. They're setting profits. So you have to always analyze that. Joint ventures, depending where you are, and franchising also. I think it's a good way of conquering the market there. And the cost benefit analysis, evaluate the cost, the risk, potential returns, consider factors such as logistics and the local market knowledge and the capital investments. And then the third, supply chain management, access, logistics, cost, transportation. That's what I said, that can help you. Plan for warehousing and inventory management. Distribution channels, identify the most cost distribution channels, wholesale, retail, e-commerce. Consider partnerships with the local distributors. And the technology and automation. Utilize technology and implement inventory management systems there to help you control that. And above all, I think the most important is networking. Trade shows, and then again, Accor and Investment Village can help you. Go out there, go to the fairs, go and sell yourself, go to the exhibitions. That's where all of this, what I've told you, you will see that in local. Talk to people, they'll tell you what the challenges are for this fruit or this meat or this cranberry or this maple ice cream. They will give you the insight. So networking is very important. And join the associations. I think Chris, as for the trucking side there, gave the good pitch there. They will help you. The associations are there for that. Yeah. And in the market strategies there, develop localized marketing campaigns in their language. The same we do with the imports to Canada. It has to be French, has to be English. Same thing outside. Check the colors, check the package, the words. These are all little insights which help the strategy of marketing and utilize social media and digital marketing, of course, and customer engagement. Establish customer service support system and gather feedback from them. I mean, this is key, especially in the local areas. There, have someone speaking their language, your language, when you're going to export outside. And to finish it off, my main takeaway is that I feel that the Atlantic Canadian region has a surplus of reefer, be it trucks, be it systems, lines, and we have a problem with cold storage because of seasonality of seafood. So that is a market to tap in. But in general, exporters have everything available for them, more than usual in other places, because of our seafood export, cranberry export, and potatoes exports. This region has one of the best reefer structures for that. So it should be natural for us to export. Apart from US and Japan and some markets in Europe, try to explore more reefer markets. I think that's my takeaway. And the geopolitics is changing this, right? Trade routes are changing, and shipping lines are thinking in quoting Halifax and St. John. You see St. John, New Brunswick also with more and more shipping lines there. So the Atlantic region is a very good hub for reefer. So that's my take there, Peter. Thanks very much.
All right, thanks very much, John. And obviously a lot of resources at Asante there for people to definitely take advantage of, I think, and something that is there that I'm sure a lot of people would be beneficial if they contacted, just in terms of understanding the capabilities, right? So
yeah,
and the reach, getting into those markets. So great, thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm just gonna go into the chat. We did have a few questions, and I know, Chris, you have to leave right at the top of the hour. So if anybody has anything for Chris, you might want to try to sneak it in. But the first one, I think, was back to the rail with Keegan. Do you also provide transshipment from Montreal to New York port? Can you take small shipments, such as one pallet from New York to Montreal, or only large shipments by container?
So from our perspective, we can offer the underlying service, but we would need an IMC or a freight forwarder to facilitate the actual coordination of that single pallet on a consolidated shipment with a steamship line. It would be outside our scope, but we do provide the steamship lines a solution from Montreal to the port of Vancouver, port of New York, sorry, through our partnership with the CSX.
Right.
Yeah, Peter, if I may, it
Yep.
is a challenge. LCL or LTL on the reefer is a challenge. It's a big challenge. And when you start your business, you're not going to sell one container. You're going to sell one, two pallets. So I know where the question is coming from. And the best thing is to ship it LCL to Montreal or to the closest port. If it's New York, send it on a LCL reefer if you can to New York, rather than ship it to Montreal. It'd be very hard to do that. If he can sell the full container, oh yeah, then that's easier. But LTL and LCL for reefer is a huge challenge, and that's something we would try with just to tap in. This is what we're studying. We're trying to bring LCL reefer cargo direct to the Atlantic.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, most of our cargo LCL, be it dry or reefer, will go to Montreal, Toronto, gets off that is consolidated there, and then trucked back to here. So that's the
Mm.
challenge. We want to get fresh food to Atlantic Canada straight here, not to go nothing against Toronto, Montreal, but I
Mm.
think we deserve fresh food straight here. Believe me, a
And
lot of foods go there and then they come back.
yeah, and perhaps maybe just define LTL and LCL for people just to explain the difference.
Yes, LCL means less than the container load, so that's the shipping container, and the LTL is less than the truck load, so that's for the truck. But it's basically the same thing. It's
Mhm.
one pallet, two pallets of various people consolidating in one space, be it a 53 truck or a intermodal container or an ocean container.
Right. Great. And there was one comment about Asante. Heard good news about Asante. So there you go. You got a plug there. This person's friend uses it to ship cars to Africa. So you're doing some work
Yes,
there, not food, but doing that.
yes, yes,
And
yes. Rural cargoes, yes.
and then the last question in there is just, is there a logistics directory in Canada? Most of the logistics companies that contact this person are from the US.
I would suggest on the forwarding side, CIFA, CIFFA, the Canadian Forwarders Association. They have the list of all the forwarders there. I guess the truckers and the rail, AAR. Keegan, maybe you can pitch in that. I'm not sure if AAR has the list there, but for freight forwarders, yes.
Yeah, I don't believe they do. I think CIFA would be the appropriate location for starting for sure.
Okay, great. Just give people another opportunity to see if they have any other questions before we say thank you to Chris and Keegan and John. I really appreciate all your insights this morning. I think that it's definitely such a critical point for people wanting to export is to get the logistics figured out and work with the resources that are available. So really appreciate you sharing some of the different options for people. And I think Keegan, were you going to put the contact information in the chat? That'd be great if you have that for the person who's in Atlantic Canada. Um, just so they can contact him if they want. And one other piece just before we leave logistics is we were also hoping to have somebody here from the air side because that's can be a component of logistics for people. But Patricia Dunlop unfortunately was traveling and just the travel didn't work out with our schedule. But I think that one thing she did send a note this morning, and I actually was just going to put it into the chat that there are some changes coming to what is available out of Halifax. So I'll just put it in there. People can see it there, but looks like there are some more options coming, and then the wide body aircraft. I know that's been a big issue, so now there will be some more options going to Europe as well for people, and not huge quantities. So that can be another thing for people to consider, depending on the market and your product and your customers. So if we don't have any other questions on the
Just one
logistics.
quick thing, Peter.
Oh,
Sorry.
go ahead. Sorry,
Before we
Yulia.
switch from the logistics topic to the next one, I just wanted to mention quickly that for those of you who are interested in diving deeper into the shipping and logistics stuff, we are offering Incoterms 2020 training on the 26th and the 28th of November, online also via Zoom. So please check our website, the events calendar, to find more information and to register. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you. And they did one other question snuck in there. The person was asking if Asante do air freight or not.
Yes, we do, Peter. And actually, just to add what you said about the Korean Air flights there, yeah, we see also, especially with cargo jet, they're moving more and more, being more and more aggressive there, and that's something to be considered also. And don't just think the normal airlines. Cargo jet is also, they actually do the last mileage with most of these airlines. So cargo jet is in the upcoming, and they're really increasing there, and also the number of new flights we're having through Halifax now. And so yeah.
Great. Okay, well, thank you very much to I think Chris has left for a different meeting. But thanks very much to Chris and Keegan and John for joining us. Really appreciate all your insights. I know I learned a lot, so thank you for being here with us. So, all right.
Thank you very much.
And so now I'd like to introduce Matthew Berrigan from Invest Nova Scotia. And Matthew's going to share some of the different supports that are out there for Nova Scotia businesses from Invest Nova Scotia. So Matthew, morning, welcome. Thank you for being here with us. And I'll just introduce Matthew. Matthew is a business development advisor with Invest Nova Scotia, the province's economic development agency, specializing in regional growth and business support. With a deep understanding of local economies, Matthew and the team at Invest Nova Scotia collaborate closely with government agencies, private organizations, and community stakeholders to connect businesses with the right resources, programs, and services that foster success and sustainable growth. By leveraging a network of strategic partnerships, Matthew helps businesses navigate challenges, capitalize on opportunities, and thrive in the competitive market. So welcome, Matthew, and we look forward to learning about some of the resources.
Perfect. Thank you, Peter. And thank you, gentlemen, for the very informative detail earlier on about logistics into shipping. And there's a lot of different other added value that we can provide through Invest Nova Scotia, whether it's connecting you to these folks. But as Peter mentioned, my name is Matthew Berrigan, and I'm the business development advisor for Invest Nova Scotia. Just trying to get the slide to change here. Before we get into our programs and supports, for those of you who do not know us, Invest Nova Scotia is the province's business development agency dedicated to building a competitive Nova Scotia. We're here to support you folks at every stage of your journey, whether you're starting out or expanding into markets nationally or internationally. Oops. So our team works across every region and sector, collaborating closely with government agencies, private sectors, and partners and communities. Through these connections, we help you access the resource, mentorship, and opportunities you need to scale up, explore new markets, or tackle complex challenges, which we'll go through later on in the presentation. It's not. Sorry, guys, slides are not changing. So for Nova Scotia food and beverage producers, there are remarkable opportunities to expand beyond the province with access to premium raw materials, a strategic location for efficient shipping and logistics, and a strong infrastructure for food production and export, such as co-packaging, which we had the pleasure of hearing from yesterday, shared freezer spaces, and shipping services, which we heard from this morning. Our agri-food sector is well positioned for growth on a global scale. Today, I'll introduce you to our support programs, services, trade missions, and training specifically tailored to Nova Scotia businesses. My goal for today is to help you understand what we do and connect you with the right people, tools, and strategies that can make a real difference. I'll be happy to answer any questions at the end. So at Invest Nova Scotia, we have several different programs tailored to suit your export needs. The first one that we'll talk about is our Export Development Program. Our Export Development Program provides a financial incentive to offset costs of projects that assist your company's ability to overcome export barriers for growth. It's Nova Scotia businesses looking to increase sales outside of Nova Scotia, improve your competitiveness, positively impacting our Nova Scotia economy. Through our EDP program, we offer two streams. Stream one is to support travel and any in-market related activities, whether you're attending conferences, trade missions, in-market meetings to develop new partnerships, relationships. The export development program can offset some of those costs associated to those activities. Stream two of our export development program, you have the ability to hire a consultant or a service provider to help you address these export barriers, including technology development and e-commerce solutions. The next program that I'll highlight is our Innovate to Rebate program, which provides a financial incentive for capital expansion projects that assist your companies as they scale to increase their competitiveness. As you look at adopting new technologies, including automation, infrastructure. I heard earlier on with the lack of cold storage infrastructure, if your company is looking at investing in those type of infrastructure projects, the IRP program would be a great opportunity for you to move forward with those type of investments. Another program that we have is our Productivity and Innovation Voucher Program. This provides a financial incentive for small and medium-sized companies to access expertise within post-secondary institutions, whether you're trying to improve productivity, develop a new product, service, or process, or just generally grow your business. And in partnership with our post-secondary institutions here in Nova Scotia, through Tier 1 vouchers, you can get a voucher of up to $15,000 for that specific project. Tier 2, if you are successful with Tier 1, we can also look at doing a Tier 2, which ultimately provides up to a $25,000 voucher for you to engage with that post-secondary institution. Companies of all sizes use this for a variety of different opportunities, whether you're validating a product concept or, again, developing a new product. Another program that we have at Invest Nova Scotia is our Trade Accelerator program, which we call TAP. Through government, we are very known to use acronyms, so you'll hear a lot of that. This is a lot of information to take in at one time, so I encourage you to jot down any programs that could be of interest, and we can have a conversation later on. But ultimately, our TAP program is a training program to help companies expand into international markets. It provides a 7-half-day training program, which includes one-on-one mentoring held over a 12-week period. Through this program, you do not only get access to resource tools and training to write your export plan, but you get that hands-on support to help you navigate through some of those challenges related to export. Through our TAP program, we also help companies establish key contacts and access expertise from top industry specialists in a variety of fields. So as you're looking at entering new markets and getting those connections, we help facilitate that matchmaking. This is in partnership of the Halifax Chamber of Commerce and ISET as well. This is a program that is traditionally offered yearly, and we are actually in the 4th week of this year's cohort. Another program that we offer is our Launch Export. Our Launch Export is a virtual export readiness program that builds the export capacity of small businesses in the land of Canada. This program delivers the answers you need and supports your learning along the way. So as you're looking at new markets, exporting to these new markets, this is a great program for you to start thinking export. So this is traditionally designed for companies that not are necessarily exporting at this time, but are in the stages of exporting. Through this program, we also provide one-on-one coaching, provide lots of different opportunities on how to solve your business challenges and enter foreign markets. The gentleman we heard from today, we regularly work with those type of logistics companies to finding those right solutions for you to succeed in your export journey. Through this program, we also offer an educational trade mission. Some of our trade mission activity will highlight later on. But through this program, as companies are relatively new to export, we would coordinate this trade mission so companies who are relatively new to exporting could get more familiar with the logistics of exporting. Through this trade mission, companies not only tap into new markets, but they're also able to build those partnerships within those markets that they're targeting. Another program that we offer is our market entry development program. So this is for companies looking at exporting into Europe or Asia. So this is a virtual presence. It doesn't only connect you with the right supports, but it also connects you with the right influencers and decision makers in those markets to start building a sales pipeline without large scale investment. So through this program, you access not only the tools, resources, but also it yields the opportunities and develops specific approaches based on the expertise and connections of those specific markets. We at Invest Nova Scotia understand that every market is different. So helping you get into transition into those markets is something that we do through that program as well. Another program that we offer, as I mentioned, we offer several different, not only financial resources supports, but we also offer mentoring as well. So through our Scotians Global Advisory Program, we can match you with an industry expert, a global industry expert within that field to help you navigate through some of those export challenges. So through the Scotians program, you would be matched with and introduced to a global advisor who is ready to provide guidance, fresh perspectives, and insights, and also helps you develop those in-market connections as well. Another program that we offer is our Trade Market Intelligence, which is also known as TMI. So as John mentioned, there is lots of different access to market research, market intelligence, and through Invest Nova Scotia, we can help you tailor that specific market intelligence to your specific needs. So whether you're entering a new market, exploring a new market, providing this type of research could be extremely critical to help you make that informed decision on whether to explore that market. So through our research team, we can help you identify these opportunities. Working with our research, we can highlight what type of characteristics of that target market industry in terms of value, key players, trends, trade, and trade data. It's to access more market intelligence around competitor analysis as companies are expanding into new markets, really honing in on who those key players are, what the value of that market is, in comparisons as well. We earlier on this morning, we talked a lot about trade regulations and requirements. This provides an opportunity to really delve in deeper to what those trade regulations and requirements are for your specific product. We understand that Agri-Food, it's a very combust product, and as you're exploring trade or export throughout not just North America, but the rest of the world, there are specific requirements, and we can help you understand what those trade requirements are. We can also conduct a lot of market research. So whether you're looking at entering these markets, what type of events, trade shows, networking opportunities, we could really hone in on that. The entire process takes roughly about 4 weeks. So we would kind of submit an application. We would set up a follow-up meeting with our research team, really hone in on the project scope, what type of information would be beneficial to your company in terms of the product that you plan on exporting. The supplier diversity certification pilot program. So as of right now, this is a pilot program that we are offering. It provides access to exclusive private and public sector programs and contracts at Invest Nova Scotia. Although we do have several different programs and services to help you with your export journey, we understand that through our meaningful connections that we not only have provincially, nationally, we can also tap into our international networks to help you become ready. You also can receive financial support to offset the costs of these certifications, as some markets and some key potential clients require supplier diversity. We can successfully help you obtain this certification and being reimbursed at 100% of the one-time fee paid for the business. Our trade missions, often I have a tremendous team at Invest Nova Scotia. So our export executive team not only hosts trade missions here in Nova Scotia and across Canada, but we also host them globally. This is for companies looking to grow their business not only across Canada, but internationally as well. By participating in in our trade missions, we regularly help you with the logistics side of attending these conferences. Oftentimes that we can provide financial incentives. So coming back to our export development program, being able to tap into our financial resources to help you offset those costs as you're entering those new markets. It's a great opportunity for you to not only meet with key players within those markets, but really actually have a presence within those markets as well. So as I mentioned, through our export executive team who coordinates these missions, which we'll highlight a few of them coming up in terms of food and beverage, they really provide the one-on-one hands-on support as you're navigating through this mission. So we not only help you, whether it's transport or helping you on the logistics side of getting your material, your product to these trade missions, but we also provide an added value where we have a matchmaking service as well, where we will actually make formal connections for you with attendees for you to help grow new partnerships, potential customers or stakeholders, if that is. By participating in our trade missions as well, it's traditionally a cost-effective way to find new buyers, customers, and partners, or attract investment and capital. So as you're looking at really honing into these specific markets, then it's a great opportunity. Just just to highlight a couple of trade missions as it relates to food and beverage. We have the food and beverage trade mission to New York and Boston on December 4th and 5th, and that is coordinated by my colleague Omaria, who I believe is with us today. We also are coordinating the Food Expo Japan, so that's in March, and that's also being coordinated by Omaria and our Food Hotel Asia trade mission as well, which is being held in April 8th, 11th, April 8th to 11th. As I mentioned, we do regularly offer financial incentives to export related activities as highlighted earlier on. And by attending these trade missions, you can absolutely tap into to those financial resources. Through Invest Nova Scotia, we also traditionally offer training and workshops. So we're always offering different types of workshops and learning opportunities for you to help grow your business and helping you with your export journey. So these are traditionally sector specific, market specific, in terms of export training, programs like our Launch Exports. And we also offer several different business and marketing. At Invest Nova Scotia, we also are great connectors. So whether if you are looking for a training and workshop opportunity that we traditionally do not offer, we are definitely open to having those discussions in terms of what is the real need of the company as you're looking to scale within those export opportunities as well. We also work closely with our government partners, as I mentioned earlier on. So there are workplace educational courses that are offered through some of our partners, which we would be happy to connect you with as well. So coming back on the collaboration and partnership, although Invest Nova Scotia offers several different financial programs and supports, we work collaboratively and close with our partners. So we know the key players in the economic development world, and we would be happy to connect you to those additional resources and expertise and funding opportunities. Oftentimes, when companies are tapping into several of our programs, for example, our Innovate to Rebate program, as I mentioned, that is to encourage companies to invest in new technologies, automation, infrastructure. We can help connect you to the right partners whether a company is looking for financing through a traditional or non-traditional financier, or if they're looking at the ACOAs of the world, we are able to help facilitate those connections. We also help companies identify growth opportunities and really honing in on the market trends. So working with our partners from the trade commissioners and our research department, we're really able to identify what these opportunities are and the market what market trends are out there. And ultimately, we're here to work with our partners, stakeholders, to strengthen the business ecosystem through fostering collaboration. So again, it's bringing the key players, the knowers together to reach the common good as well. So a little bit, as I mentioned, I'm a business development advisor for Invest Nova Scotia. So we have 8 of us across the province, as I mentioned, and we're all geographically located to represent the entirety of the province. Ultimately, as mentioned, I'm within the northern region. I'm responsible for Colchester, Cumberland, so I often get to have the pleasure of working with the Johns, the Asantes of the world in those type of logistics and manufacturing companies. Here's a list of just the key contacts of your business development advisors, which are traditionally your first point of contact to Invest Nova Scotia, and then through our meetings and our ongoing relationship, often my colleagues, such as Somaria on the export team, are often brought in to the discussions to really help you navigate what opportunities are out there and how can we seize them. And without further ado, just to stay informed and up to date with our activity, I've included a QR code and my contact information, and I'd be happy to have a follow-up conversation with any of you guys to delve in a little bit deeper into some of the programs that I went over at a very, very high level. So, Peter, thank you very much. I'd be glad to take any questions.
All right, great. Thanks, Matthew. And there is a lot of resources available to Nova Scotia businesses, and I can certainly attest to the value that some of them bring, people that I have the opportunity to work with and who put them into play. I think it's great resources for people. And as you say, I think it's important to talk to the appropriate Invest Nova Scotia person to really just find out what is the best fit, because there are a lot of different things there, and but they can offer great support, and some of the brands you put on there are great examples of people who've been working with Invest Nova Scotia to really build their business beyond the borders of the province, right? So
Yeah, absolutely.
so I do see one question in there. So I'm not sure if you can see the chat, Matthew, but the person is an international student, um, and did some market surveys and looking at two different products that they would like to start and scale in Halifax. So the first question was, are the programs at Invest Nova Scotia specific to a particular demographic? I mean, can an international student join and participate?
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, as I mentioned earlier on, or I probably didn't mention on because that's why the question was asked, but we work with all companies, demographics, companies of all sizes. So absolutely, as for example, our product innovation voucher program, where whether you're an international student, a domestic, as long as you're a registered company here in Nova Scotia, you can absolutely tap into our programs. The PIVP program would be, by the looks of it, a great starting point for something like this, to really validate that product or that concept before taking it to market. Once we can always look at aligning a specific program. So whether a company taps into our PIVP program, coming back to our launch export program as well. Through Invest Nova Scotia, we are hyper focus on export oriented companies. However, that does not mean that those are the only companies that we work with. Oftentimes, our IRP program, our Innovate to Rebate program, it's really to help companies really scale in terms of productivity and efficiency. As economic developers, we know that Canada is at the bottom of the barrel in terms of productivity, and here in Nova Scotia, I think we're kind of at that bottom. How can we really increase productivity and through automation, new technologies, and so forth, it helps it helps with that process.
Okay. And to access the programs, do they need to have a product, or it's really just a business, right? That the person needs to have, right?
No, absolutely. A program like TAP, absolutely. Our Innovate to Rebate program, it is a financial incentive to help companies explore new markets, increase productivity and efficiencies. Traditionally, these are manufacturing type companies. However, as it was mentioned earlier on this morning, with the lack of cold storage infrastructure, companies can utilize the Innovate to Rebate program, which provides a 25% rebate on those capital investments. Our IRP program does have requirements. So our IRP program is looking at investments between $350,000 and $15 million. So if you're a new company that's just starting up, it's probably safe to say that you're not looking for that level of investment. But if they were, we'd definitely be open to having that discussion.
Okay. And then the third part was the person's just been unsure about how to start an agribusiness company in Nova Scotia, and they're just looking to understand whether Invest Nova Scotia supports SMEs like that, or are there other options as well they should consider?
Yeah, no, absolutely. At Invest Nova Scotia, traditionally we work with more established based companies. However, that does not mean that that's where our support stops. Here in Nova Scotia, we are extremely fortunate to work with organizations like the regional enterprise networks, the CBDCs of the world, and so forth and so on. Those are more of the organizations that will really assist in the grassroots of starting a business. But ultimately, I would encourage anybody with with a business or with an idea to reach out to us, have the conversation, see where our support and where we can provide added value, not only through our internal programming, but through our support networks as well.
Great, and thanks to Rachel for putting a note in the chat too. Certainly, the Department of Agriculture is another resource for people as well. So Rachel put her contact information in there too. So much appreciated. And was a question about more sharing more about the trade mission to Boston in December, and I see Omira did put a note in there just that it includes B2B meetings and networking. But if you have anything else on that one, Matthew, I know it's tied into the Christmas tree as well, right? There's a group goes down to sort of support that as well, right? So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So as Mario mentioned, it provides great networking opportunities to network within those markets. And what I would say is if there's somebody who is interested in that program, is to reach out to myself or Omaria, and we can have those further discussions. Just really trying to identify if this is a great opportunity for you now or maybe later on as well.
Great, great. Thank you. And I don't see any other questions in the chat unless anybody else has any questions for Matthew. And I think you would always recommend people contact their local Invest Nova Scotia person to have that conversation and understand what resources are there, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Actually, it was funny. It's kind of a dad joke, but when in doubt, reach out. At the end of the day, as I mentioned, we do not only support our clients with our internal programming and resource, but it's really tapping into our support networks and really identifying who the best possible who could come up with that best possible solution, whether they're working with us or they're working with one of the Halifax partnerships, the regional enterprise networks, which are expanded all throughout Nova Scotia, which are ultimately responsible for regional economic development within that respected region.
Mm-hmm. Great, great. And all the contact information for people, it's all on that Invest Nova Scotia website, right? Everybody can find who they need.
Correct. So if you wanted to I believe we can circulate the QR code, but the easiest way to get in touch with us is investnovascotia.ca.
Mm-hmm. Great, great. Well, thank you very much, Matthew, for being with us and sharing some of the many opportunities to support Nova Scotia businesses investing or exporting. So thank you very much for that. And I see every time I sort of say that, then there gets another question. So which is all good. Does Invest Nova Scotia develop any kind of internship for new business owners?
So what would they be referring to in terms of the internship? I just want to make sure I understand the question.
Yeah, it was unless maybe if the person has some more detail about what they were thinking about there. I know the mentorship program you have, which is a valuable resource that can connect people in different places, but an internship in export, I guess, perhaps wanting to work within a company exporting already and learn some of the.
We do not directly through Invest Nova Scotia. As I mentioned earlier on, we work with, we're more focused on working with established companies. But again, that does not mean that we do not have the right connections to help navigate some of and facilitate some of those connections as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, and thank you to everybody for all the questions and comments. It's I think having this type of a format where people can, do that makes it much more valuable for everybody. And so we really appreciate all the participation from people, and it's been great for myself. I know I've learned a lot over the different sessions, so appreciate the opportunity to be here. And Yulia, I know people have set up some of those one-on-one meetings, so you'll probably mention that. So I will turn it back to you to finalize and wrap things up. But really appreciate all of our speakers and all of the people who've been with us during the sessions participating.
Thank you so much, Peter. So just a couple of quick reminders before we wrap up. First of all, as Peter mentioned, we still have a couple of slots openings for one-on-one meetings with Peter Chapman. So if you are still interested in that, please send me a note and I will send you a link to book your meeting. Also, you'll be receiving a survey after today for all 4 sessions for the whole series. So I do kindly ask you to please fill it out and offer your suggestions, or if you have any comments or anything. It's not just a satisfaction survey. We are really looking for your input, what kind of training you want to see, what kind of topics, so we can better serve you. Big thank you to our MC, Peter Chapman, for making all these sessions, all 4 days running very smoothly and helping me. It's been a great help, Peter. Thank you so much. I would like to thank all our speakers and facilitators during all 4 days for the informative sessions and value of information. We will be sharing the recordings as soon as they're all uploaded on our YouTube channel. I will be sending them to all the participants, and we will think of what is the best way to share the PowerPoints without clogging your emails with big files. I'll see what I can do with that, and we can share those as well. Also, what else was I going to say? Mentioned the survey, mentioned one-on-one meetings. So yeah, if you have any questions, please, about the contact information, how to contact the speakers. If you have additional questions that you didn't have a chance to ask, but then suddenly remembered something, please send me a note and I will connect you with the facilitators. And also, please note that we offer much more training and education and workshops. Check our website, our events calendar. And also, I would like to thank our funding partner, Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency, for helping us make this happen. Thanks, everyone, for being with us today and during the 4 days. I hope you find it useful and valuable, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in our next training sessions. Thanks a lot.